Hey there friends, welcome back to another Dinkum video. Today's video, we're gonna build a Japanese Zen garden. This won't necessarily be like a step-by-step tutorial. It might be a bit of a speed build. I haven't quite decided yet. But I did pre-change the dirt to sand so you guys wouldn't have to painstakingly watch that laborious process. But we're going to build ourselves a Japanese-inspired Zen garden using some items here in Dinkum and see what kind of beautiful masterpiece we can create. So first things first, I kind of want to create a border with some fencing. Of course, I've already kind of outlined kind of where I'm definitely going to stop the border, but I'm trying to decide on what kind of fencing to use. I know I want to really add a lot of green because there's going to be a lot of sand. So do we do something like this marble fence with the ivy on it? Or a lot of Japanese Zen gardens have fences kind of like this around them. And then we just add in a lot of trees and bushes and whatnot to really add the greenery that we're looking for. I'm thinking this wooden fence is probably going to be the way to go versus the green marble. I'm curious to see what you guys would decide if you did something like this and how it looks if you chose something different. But we're going to go with the wood for this one. So there you have it. We've put the wooden fence up, and now we've got to start figuring out how we're going to do our path through. A lot of the Zen gardens have the sand with flagstone or stone pathing that kind of winds its way through. And I'm thinking that we lay down the path first so that we know kind of where our main walkway is going to be. And, you know, what kind of, and then we can put like whatever design features we want on either side of it, given where we put the pathing down. Now you can start this however you'd like. Everybody has, I think, their own style of doing things. For me, if figuring out where the walkway is going to be, say I'm gonna turn it and curve it and do something like this. You know, you could do something completely different. I'm kind of basing this off of multiple photos and trying to pull together all the ideas into one space. We've got ourselves a little friend. He's going to help out today. Don't mind him. He's always just a little bit bloodshot. I think the pathing that I'm going to go with for the pathway is the cobblestone path. I'm not terribly thrilled that it leaves kind of this brown line around it. But I'm also just, there's not a whole lot of other choices when it comes to circular pieces. And I do like the way that looks versus some of the others that are more, you know, square. We may change this up though. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to play around with it and see. You guys can decide whether or not you like the look of this. So here we have our pathway, and we could always turn some stuff back into dirt and plant some grass. There is a lot of, you know, greenery in these Zen gardens, and there is grass, but I was kind of hoping to achieve all that with, say, bushes. I'm also trying to decide if this is wide enough, or do we need to have it two tiles wide instead of one. If I do that, I'm going to lose the circular pattern completely, and if that ends up being the case, then we might as well pick a different pathing tile. But what do y'all think? I'm thinking we might need to experiment with it just a little bit. I've pulled out 3 other options for us to take a look at. The first one is the natural pathing. It's basically just the dirt with a little bit of speckling texture that kind of makes it look like a little bit like gravel. We've got the rock edge pathing that's got the bigger rocks around the edge and the smaller rocks in the middle. And then we've got the one with just the big rocks all together. And if you put them down individually, it does kind of make a circular pattern. Again, you're still dealing with the red dirt. I'm not thrilled about that. Yeah, I'm thinking perhaps doing something more like this or this as our path instead of this. because this gives irregular rock shapes, which a lot of these have more of like a flagstone. Not all of them are very uniformed, and I'm thinking perhaps this is the way we should go. And here's our pathway. I'm liking this a little bit better. For anybody who's interested, this space is 18 wide and 27 long. That might come back to bite me in the behind later on. I didn't count it out. I was just kind of like, this is about the size I want, and so we're just gonna go with it. So I've got this sort of meandering path. It's not completely straight, and you know, it's really hard to curve things in a square tile game, but nevertheless, we persist. Correct? All right, so let's get to decorating. So one of the things I wanted to do next was put down some of the major features. And I know I wanted to have like a water feature, at least here or back here. And so now I'm just gonna start plopping down some of the bigger items to kind of work around, and what we'll be building our garden around in terms of features that it has. Okay, so for my Zen garden, I've kind of decided on a water feature, and then like a focal tree with some statues, and then 2 seating areas. And the rest of this we're going to fill up with plant life and decor. And one of the things that I kind of want to do is to place down some stones, because in a lot of Zen gardens I've seen have a lot of stonework happening. And thankfully we've got this wonderful stone wand that can help us out here and help us place all kinds of stones every which way. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that this video, you know, kind of shows you what my design process is kind of like and how I go about deciding things. I do put down a lot of stuff, take a lot of things up because it doesn't always work. And, you know, try again, right? I think... So right now, I tend to go in layers. I try to kind of put down a few things that all kind of the same thing, all in a row, kind of to see, you know, am I liking this? Do I want to keep going? Let's get all the rocks in, you know, that I kind of want to put, and then see if we need to add more, see if we need to take away. And that's kind of how I operate with all of this, you know, any kind of design. Now, this is something a little different than what I've done in the past, and so it will definitely, you know, maybe need some tweaking here and there. So I'm going to put more rocks down, and I'll join you guys in just a bit. Okay, I think I've got the amount of rocks I want placed down, and now the next thing would be to place the bigger items like trees. So that way we know where we're placing trees, and then we'll come back in and do some smaller foliage like bushes and flowers as we get that taken care of. So I'm going to play around with several different types of trees here in the Zen garden, and I'll be back and we'll see what the results end up being. All right, so I've got a few trees placed. I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to bury some bottle trees to have some lush bushes. I do think that's something that I'm probably going to need to make a decision on here in just a second. But I wanted to start putting some other decor out and kind of see what happens and where we go from here. So let's start building, guys. Well, there you have it. This is going to be our finished product of all of our hard work. You'll see that I put up some vine walls to kind of enclose the space and bring in a little bit of privacy. Eventually, I will build around this space and probably put some trees and different things up to enclose it and make it more lush and green. But this is the garden itself, the end result. I believe I used every green plant in the game. That's a lot of green. But most of the example pictures I was using had a lot of green. There were a few that had some flowers, but this was, green seemed to be the rule of the day. Now, we don't have Japanese maples or bonsai trees in Dinkum. So I use the gumwood trees in autumn to kind of mimic that Japanese maple look. So if you kind of squint your eye and turn your head to the side, you can kind of see it, maybe. Maybe. Use your imaginations for me, please. And then the big acacia tree that is the kind of focal point tree is kind of supposed to represent a bonsai tree, and it's got, a couple statues underneath to bring in some of the stonework statues I've seen in some of the example pictures I was using. We've got our little water feature here. I should have put some fish in the pond to really make that more realistic looking. And then we've got some seating areas that I described earlier on that are just supposed to be where you come and sit in the tranquil space and, contemplate life and get zen and peaceful. There are so many different options you could do with this space. I played around with the idea of possibly putting water through it and putting a bridge over it. You could do a waterfall in the corner. There's just so many options. Now here we have the night view, and I really love how these stone lanterns really match a sort of Japanese Zen garden vibe. And throw off a lot of really soft lighting. I also threw around a few floor lights just to kind of illuminate some darker areas. But yeah, this is, it's beautiful at night, I think. I definitely wanted to have the sound of running water, so we placed a few fountains here and there to have that effect. You could also achieve that with a waterfall, I think. Really, it's just up to you. The limitations are only your imagination. I definitely recommend to people to pull up pictures, do a Google search and find a few that you think that you like and kind of mimic what you see. Some people don't learn that way. Some people, that's hard. But, for those of you who like visual aids, that's definitely incredibly helpful, the jumping off point when it comes to designing. So, I use several photos here to kind of give me my jumping off point inspiration-wise. And so hopefully this will help you and inspire all of you to create something beautiful and peaceful and zen on your islands. There's not a lot of Japanese Zen gardens that I've seen. They do exist out there, I'm sure, but I just haven't seen very many. And so I thought, let me build something like that here and inspire all of us to do something a little different here in Dinkum. I hope you guys have been enjoying this content. If you have, please hit that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit that button and say, come on over to the chaos. We also offer memberships. They start at 99 cents, and we have our own Dinkum Community Island over on the member side. So you should come and hang out with us over there if you decide to join up. But yeah, another design idea video in the bag, and hopefully it'll give you guys some inspiration. It's achievable for both vanilla and creative players. In vanilla, you might just have to do a little bit more collecting, but you can make this happen if you aren't playing in creative mode. The fish pond might be a little tricky, but I do try to make everything accessible as much as possible to everyone who likes to play. So here you go. I hope you've been inspired. I know I have. Please do share all of your creations. But in the meantime, that's going to wrap us up. So thank you guys for watching and hanging out with me today. And as always, I want y'all to be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and I'll catch you in the next one.